So in this video and episode 4 of Driving for Uber Eats, firstly, welcome to the series where I bring on my brother driving Uber Eats in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. How's it going today?
Pretty good. I know this is a little bit of a different format, but you couldn't get more live than this. I just am wrapping up an amazing, huge weekend driving Uber Eats and DoorDash.
I was going to say you got a different setup going on over there.
A little bit of a different setup. Shout out to all you hustling on the road right now or watching at home to prepare.
Now, are you driving right now or?
I'm wrapping up my day. I just drove in the morning and I drove all this past weekend.
Cool. So yeah, guys, if you're new to this series, again, we talk about driving for Uber Eats. Matt recently picked up driving for Uber Eats a couple of months now. Well, tell me about it. So what did you do this past week as far as Uber Eats, as far as earnings or hours?
So I was on the road for about 16 hours, and that's about 2.5 days of driving during the day and then into the evening. I've made just on Uber Eats over $400 and in just this one weekend. And then on DoorDash, close to $100.
All right. Now, the 16 hours, was that just for Uber Eats or does that include DoorDash?
That was just on Uber Eats.
Okay. So I did the math on that. 16 hours, $400, $25 an hour. So that's very solid. Now, you have been doing this for a couple of months here. $25 an hour, based on those numbers, you're probably doing close to $10 a trip, I'm thinking. Are there any problems or anything that's been kind of new here, or how's it been for you?
So no real problems. There's been a lot of tips and a learning curve, if you will. So I've learned a lot from driving multiple platforms, and but the only problems per se are the wait times, and that's something
Right.
that us as drivers, right? It's unavoidable, but you deal with it.
Okay. So no problems with the customers, no other problems with orders themselves, nothing like that?
No problems with missing items. Everyone's been
Okay.
great as far as communication, things like that.
Well, I mean, you're doing quite well. Again, $25 an hour, and this is, week after week of us talking here, which is fantastic. Is there anything that you can say, any new strategies, or is it kind of the same thing? Focusing on density, looking at how to extend surge pricing, if there is surge pricing, things like that. Is there anything new, or is it kind of the same best practices?
So I've definitely, like I mentioned, a few tips, and from DoorDash in particular. So one big tip that I would give to whenever you're toggling in between apps, you definitely want to not only see if it's going to be more money after the tip. So on DoorDash, something I've learned is the tip is already included. So for anyone watching that's thinking about DoorDash, that number that you get on the request includes everything. Where on Uber Eats, you might get an $8 order, but remember, some people tip really large amounts. So you really,
Right.
as far as strategy goes, you want to just factor that in.
Yeah, I pulled up a quick screenshot, guys, and yeah, on DoorDash, I'll put up an example right now. It shows you the amount you're going to earn, and it says includes DoorDash pay and customer tip. Now, there are instances where that can be higher on DoorDash. Your pay may be higher if the customer adds a tip after the fact. Just sometimes, that's how their system works. But talk to me a little bit about DoorDash, because I know that's new for you. Again, how much you drove on DoorDash, and how do you like it compared to Uber Eats?
So a few big things jumped out at me. On DoorDash in my market of Pittsburgh, there were so many more requests. So that's good for
Okay.
us because we can choose which delivery system we want. So if DoorDash gives you a higher price, a shorter ride, then it's smarter to choose DoorDash. But there was times
Sure.
where I was sitting there and I would get 8 to 9 or 10 DoorDash requests and maybe 0 or 1 Uber Eats request. So again, there's some things that you learn as you go, but the big takeaway is it's all about which one's going to help you as a driver. And the quests, which I think we're going to talk about here, the quests and the bonus payouts are massively different, at least for me during this weekend.
Well, that was my next question. It just compare that for me. The Uber Surge, the Uber Quests with the DoorDash Peak Pay. What have you seen as far as bonus pay between the two?
So I just want to let everyone know that's watching, you're not going to lose out, quote unquote, if you're choosing DoorDash or Uber Eats. And that's if you follow what Mike says, what we talk about, I know in other videos, density, the payout, the mileage. You can average those $10 orders. But here's a good example. This weekend, there was a quest for Uber Eats. And if you drove 20 rides, they would pay you $40 payout. So I drove those 20 rides with Uber Eats and I instantly got a big boost, $40 from my payout. The same weekend, DoorDash had 10 rides for $5. So $40 compared to $5, a big difference.
And I know you're new to DoorDash. That's really interesting. That's an extra. So on Uber Eats, that's an extra $40 on top of any earnings from those 20 deliveries, right?
That's correct. So it's an extra
Yeah.
incentive. If you reach a certain mark, they give you a revenue bonus, and it does not affect the promotions.
And I feel like that's really one of the only players in this space that's doing that because I can tell you on Postmates and a DoorDash, typically what you're seeing is not an actual bonus, it's guaranteed pay. So DoorDash will say, drive 10 deliveries, receive $60, but what they're telling you is you'll be guaranteed to earn $60. We're not giving you an extra 60. It's just if you're short, they'll pay you the difference. So if Uber's doing a true extra $40 on that quest on top of surge pricing, well, that's pretty good. Well, let me ask you this. So now you've been driving for both, for Uber Eats and DoorDash. I know it's pretty new, but do you favor one over the other, or do you see yourself gravitating towards one?
So here's a really interesting thing. I noticed that in DoorDash, a lot of my requests, and I would say 80% of them, were really far away. So for any regular on this channel, or if you're new to the channel, we talk about how to maximize your time. You don't want to drive a long distance for a small payout, right? But DoorDash, I've noticed, seems, and at least this is my experience. It could be different for you guys, longer trips. But all in all, it's smart to balance and toggle between the two because they each have their perks. It just happened that this weekend, Uber had a much larger bonus quest payout.
Which is why it's so important to have both apps, right? And I've been trying to get you on that DoorDash, so it's good to see you on DoorDash. And I encouraged guys, I encouraged Matt to sign up for Grubhub as well. You might as well, just to compare these bonuses here. So it sounds like both are pretty good at times. Again, within their own respects. And then it comes down to, I think, the dollars to mile ratio. I mean, you mentioned the longer orders on DoorDash. It does come down to, hey, how much am I getting paid? Of course, for the time invested here. So what's going to be your strategy going forward? Are you going to continue to drive on both? I imagine you're just going to kind of weigh who's paying you better, right?
Yeah, so and here's a big power tip that I want to say for anyone watching. I want to mention this before I forget. The big difference I've noticed, which is really cumbersome as a driver, and I know there's reasons they do this, but when you decline an order on DoorDash, it makes you put in a reason, right? So for anyone who doesn't know, you have to say the order was too small, I don't have my red card, the distance is too long. Whereas on Uber Eats, you just decline and then it kicks you right back into the app. So that it's 3 or 4 different clicks with DoorDash, and that takes time. But my game plan moving forward is you absolutely said it, and I'd recommend it to anyone watching. Just try and get approved on a variety of apps, and then have maybe 1 or 2 open because it can get a little overwhelming, all those requests, but it's a good thing. And then choose the ones that make most sense. Short trips, high revenue.
And just to touch on your point there about DoorDash declines, this is a decline, of course. This isn't a cancellation. Now, you can let that timer run out, but I mean, you don't really want to waste that time. and let that timer completely run out. So yeah, whenever you click decline on DoorDash, it is going to give you a laundry list of reasons. Now you can click other. I mean, in my experience, it's not really going to affect, the kind of orders that you get. Ideally, if you click on, orders too small, you're hoping that the algorithm is going to give you a larger order because of that. Or if you clicked on the orders too far away, again, you're hoping that the algorithm is going to give you a better distance order, right? That's why we're really classifying those orders. Well, very good. So as we kind of wrap it up here, it sounds like you find a lot of success. I guess let's close it up on DoorDash, because I know you've been doing Uber Eats for a bit. Has there been any sticking points with DoorDash? Because I know you just started driving with DoorDash, really within the last week. Any problems with the app? How easy is it to use compared to Uber Eats?
I would say, as far as ease of use, definitely amount of deliveries, it's better for the amount of requests. So I would encourage anybody, open DoorDash, give it a shot. Like Mike said, I just got started, and it's only to your benefit. I get more requests versus Uber Eats. So it's an easy app to use. My only negative would be that point I made when you decline the order. But all in all, the ease of use, nearly exactly the same. Now that I think about it, the one difference is I found fewer customers are having the instructions say, leave at door. So on DoorDash, at least in my experience, more customers want with them in person. And that's okay. But I think when you leave it at the door, it's a little quicker. So I found that happens more often with Uber Eats. All in all, both of the apps are great for all of us to make money.
Well, cool. Just to clarify, you broke up a little bit there. You mentioned that the contactless deliveries are obviously preferred in some senses. It's easier. It's pretty seamless. And then, yeah, I've seen the same thing where some DoorDash customers will actually indicate they wanted it handed off. I can certainly understand that, but again, it adds maybe a half step to that delivery process. So guys, if you got value in this video, definitely leave a like. If you have questions about driving for Uber Eats, definitely leave that down below in the comments. And do make sure to follow and watch the playlist for all these videos on Uber Eats. I'll leave that link down below in the comments as well. So again, I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate Matt for being here for another episode of Driving for Uber Eats. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already so you can watch the next episode. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one.